the stages of change, also known as trans-theoretical model. So the stages of change and motivational interviewing are not the same thing, but they're talked about a lot together. They're very complementary. First of all, the stages of change was developed in the early 1980s by James, I'm going to cheat here a little bit, Prochaska and Carlo Di Clemente. And I believe the fun fact I learned was that they both came out at the same addiction conference in the early 1980s. So they're often confused as being the same, but they are very different. They are each standalone. Motivational interviewing trainers often talk about the stages of change because motivational interviewing is used to help target that contemplation stage of change. So let me break down the stages of change for you for a minute here and give you some examples, and then I'll talk about that a little bit more. Okay, stages of change, trans-theoretical model. The philosophy here, the belief is that when people go through change, they go through these stages in order, essentially. The first is pre-contemplation. That's that before thinking about it stage. So when you have clients that are complaining about issues, but not talking about any motivation for change, when they're blaming other people, when they are defensive or in denial, I don't love that word actually, but some people will use that to describe that pre-contemplative stage of change. It's the not thinking about it yet stage. I also read a long time ago a friendlier definition of denial being not ready yet. Right? So yet, not yet ready. And I think this is true for so many of us around changes because we're protective. There's something that's keeping us from being willing or able to look at the change yet. So we stay in that pre-contemplative stage. The second stage of change, kind of as we're building up in the change process, is the contemplation stage. That's the thinking about it stage. That's the stage where we hear the ambivalence, the two sides, the back and forth, to be or not to be, to change or not to change, to drink more water or not to count my sugars, to manage my diabetes, or to eat what I want or what's provided to me in my, by my family. So those conflicting pieces here of the back and forth. Now let's remember, it's really important to normalize that ambivalence, to normalize the ambivalence, to say that ambivalence is normal. It is a part of the change process. That's an important piece we can reflect to clients who are feeling kind of stuck and even like kind of crazy, like I'm ping-ponging back and forth. Why can't I make this decision? Well, because change is hard and ambivalence is normal. That's that contemplative stage of change. So that's when we're hearing arguments for and against change from clients. And gosh, does it drive us crazy to be ourselves in that contemplative stage of change. It's a weighty process where we're stuck, and it doesn't feel good to be stuck in contemplation. So we tend to kind of either go back to pre-contemplation, never mind, I can't think about this right now, can't handle this too much, nope, not going to do it. Or we move forward in the change process into the third stage, which is the preparation stage of change. That's that preparing to make change. So that's when our clients might be asking questions about change, gathering information, talking to other people who have done it, wanting to know how other people have done it, starting to talk about or be willing to explore what a change plan might be. And then if they're going to move forward into that change, then there's that pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action. That's the action stage of change, where people are doing it. They're following that change plan. They're trying those new things. You're troubleshooting with them. You're helping them, support them in that change process. And then the final stage of change is maintenance, where people are maintaining that change and it's become a part of habit. So a lot of our healthcare systems are set up for people to come in to meet with us thinking that they're ready to go into preparation and action stages of change. And some of us helping professionals, especially in the early days of our careers, are confounded by like, what? Don't you want to change? Let's make a change plan. We don't often have the tools to help people who are in pre-contemplation and contemplation to work their way through that. And motivational interviewing is designed to target that, especially that contemplative stage of change, to help grow that motivation for change, to help people step into the preparation and action rather than kind of falling back into that pre-contemplation. So a couple points about the stages of change. They are linear, but also recursive. So we experience this ourselves. Our clients experience it where they move forward in the change process and then they slide back, where they go for it and then they relapse happens to some degree, some extent. So that is also normal. Ambivalence is normal. Sliding back in the stages is normal. It is also normal to spend all sorts of different amounts of time in different stages of change. Some people live in pre-contemplation or contemplation for years. I'm still talking about how I should get to bed earlier. There are reasons for it and against it, and it causes me angst sometimes. And every now and then I bump up into that preparation. I'm gonna set a reminder to go to bed earlier. I'm gonna tell my kids so that they help me do it, and then I go back to that, oh, but I'm reading this novel, and oh, but I want to watch this show with my husband, etc. Right? So we can spend different amounts of time in different stages. People can move into maintenance for years and then slide back to, that's not a problem for me anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore. Right? So that's also a normal part of the change process. So that's a little breakdown of the stages of change transtheoretical model, and where motivational interviewing intersects with this is in that targeting contemplation stage of change. Motivational interviewing is designed to help strengthen their motivation for and commitment to change in a particular direction, to help them move forward in that process. Motivational interviewing can be so helpful at working with people who are pre-contemplative and to really kind of try to form engagement and connect and support and stay out of judgment and normalize ambivalence and normalize how hard the change process is in order to help nurture them into that contemplation stage of change. I'll be sharing some more tips for working with that confounding pre-contemplative stage in my next video. It's something that people talk about a lot, is like, I'm so frustrated. How do I get this person to see that they need to get into this change process? They need to get their head out of the ground and think about what they need to do to make a change. So I'll share some more about that in the next video. All right, let me know your experience with the stages of change and motivational interviewing. Thanks for tuning in.